What's up, guys? Welcome to August 30th as we dive into Ezekiel chapter 34, the shepherds of Israel. Then this message came to me from the Lord: Son of man, prophesy against the shepherds, the leaders of Israel. Give them this message from the sovereign Lord. What sorrow awaits you, shepherds who feed yourselves instead of your flocks? Shouldn't shepherds feed their sheep? You drink the milk, wear the wool, and butcher the best animals, but you let your flocks starve. You have not taken care of the weak, you have not tended the sick, or bound up the injured. You have not gone looking for those who have wandered away and are lost. Instead, you have ruled them with harshness and cruelty, so my sheep have been scattered without a shepherd, and they are easy prey for any wild animal. They have wandered through all the mountains and all the hills across the face of the earth, yet no one has gone to search for them. Therefore, you shepherds, hear the word of the Lord. As surely as I live, says the sovereign Lord, you abandoned my flock and left them to be attacked by every wild animal. And though you are my shepherds, you didn't search for my sheep when they were lost. You took care of yourselves and left the sheep to starve. Therefore, you shepherds heard the word of the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says: I now consider these shepherds my enemies, and I will hold them responsible for what has happened to my flock. I will take away their right to feed the flock, and I will stop them from feeding themselves. I will rescue my flock from the mouths. The sheep will no longer be their prey. The Good Shepherd. For this is what the sovereign Lord says: I myself will search and find my sheep. I will be like a shepherd looking for his scattered flock. I will find my sheep and rescue them from all the places where they were scattered on that dark and cloudy day. I will bring them back home to the own land of Israel, from among the peoples and nations. I will feed them on the mountains of Israel, and by the rivers, and in the places where people live. Yes, I will give them good pasture land on the high hills of Israel. There they will lie down in pleasant places and feed in the lush pastures of the hills. I myself will tend my sheep and give them a place to lie down in peace, says the sovereign Lord. I will search for my lost ones who strayed away, and I will bring them safely home again. I will bandage the injured and strengthen the weak, but I will destroy those who are fat and powerful. I will feed them, yes, feed them justice. And as for you, my flock, this is what the sovereign Lord says to his people: I will judge between one animal of the flock and another, separating the sheep from the goats. Isn't it enough for you to keep the best of the pastures for yourselves? Must you also trample the rest? Isn't it enough for you to drink clear water for yourselves? Must you also muddy the rest with your feet? Why must my flock eat what you have trampled down, and drink water you have fouled? Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says: I will surely judge between the fat sheep and the scrawny sheep, for you fat sheep pushed and butted and crowded my sick and hungry flock until you scattered them to distant lands. So I will rescue my flock, and they will no longer be abused. I will judge between one sheep of the flock and another, and I will set over them one shepherd, my servant David. He will feed them, and be a shepherd to them. And I, the Lord, will be their God, and my servant David will be a prince among my people. I, the sovereign Lord, have spoken. I, the Lord, have spoken. The Lord's covenant of peace. I will make a covenant of peace with my people, and drive away the dangerous animals from the land. Then they will be able to camp safely in the wildest places and sleep in the woods without fear. I will bless my people and their homes around my holy hill, and in a proper season I will send the showers they need. It will be showers of blessing. The orchards and fields of my people will yield bumper crops, and everyone will live in safety. When I have broken their chains of slavery and rescued them from those who enslaved them, then they will know that I am the Lord. They will no longer be prey for other nations, and wild animals will no longer devour them. They will live in safety, and no one will frighten them. And I will make their land famous for its crops, so my people will never again suffer from famines or the insults of foreign nations. In this way, they will know that I, the Lord, their God, am with them, and they will know that they, the people of Israel, are my people, says the sovereign Lord. You are my flock, and the sheep of my pasture. You are my people, and I am your God. I, the sovereign Lord, have spoken. Chapter 35, a message for Edom. Again, a message came to me from the Lord. Son of man, turn and face Mount Seir, and prophesy against its people. Give them this message from the sovereign Lord. I am your enemy, O Mount Seir, and I will raise my fist against you to destroy you completely. I will demolish your cities and make you desolate. Then you will know that I am the Lord. Your eternal hatred for the people of Israel led you to butcher them when they were helpless. When I had already punished them for all their sins. As surely as I live, says the sovereign Lord, since you shall know the distaste for blood, I will give you a bloodbath of your own. Your turn has come. I will make Mount Seir utterly desolate, killing all who try to escape and any who return. I will fill your mountains with the dead. Your hills, your valleys, your ravines will be filled with people slaughtered by the sword. I will make you desolate forever. Your cities will never be rebuilt. Then you will know that I am the Lord. For I said, the lands of Israel and Judah will be ours. We will take possession of them. What do we care what that the Lord is there? Therefore, as surely as I live, says the sovereign Lord, I will pay back your angry deeds with my own. I will punish you for all your acts of anger, envy, and hatred, and I will make myself known to Israel by what I do to you. Then you will know that I, the Lord, have heard every contemptuous word you spoke against the mountains of Israel, for you said, they are desolate, they have been given to us as food to eat. In saying that, you boast proudly against me, and I have heard it all. That this is what the sovereign Lord says. The whole world will rejoice when I make you desolate. You rejoice at desolation of Israel's territory. Now I will rejoice at yours. You will be wiped out, you people of Mount Seir, and all who live in Edom. Then you will know that I am the Lord. Chapter 31 or 36. Restoration for Israel. Son of man, prophesy to Israel's mountain. Give them this message. O mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says. Your enemies have taunted you, saying, Aha! Now the ancient heights belong to us. Therefore, son of man, give the mountains of Israel this message from the sovereign Lord. Your enemies have attacked you from all directions, making you the property of many nations and the object of much mocking and slander. Therefore, all mountains of Israel, hear the word of the sovereign Lord. He speaks to the hills and mountains, ravines and valleys, and to ruined wastes and long deserted cities that have been destroyed and mocked by the surrounding nations. This is what the sovereign Lord says. My jealous anger burns against these nations, especially Edom, because they have shown utter contempt for me by gleefully taking my land for themselves as plunder. Therefore prophesy to the hills and mountains, the ravines and valleys of Israel. This is what the sovereign Lord says. I am furious that you have suffered shame before the surrounding nations. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I will take a solemn oath that those nations will soon have their own shame to endure. But the mountains of Israel will produce heavy crops of fruit for my people, for they will be coming home again soon. See, I care about you, and I will pay attention to you. Your ground will be plowed and your crops planted. I will greatly increase the population of Israel, and the ruined city will be rebuilt to be filled with people. I will increase not only the people, but also your animals. O mountains of Israel, I will bring people to live on you once again. I will make you even more prosperous than you were before. Then you will know that I am the Lord. I will cause my people to walk on you once again, and you will be their territory. You will never again rob them of their children. This is what the sovereign Lord says. The other nations taunt you, saying, Israel is a land that devours its own people and robs them of their children. But you will never again devour your people or rob them of their children, says the sovereign Lord. I will not let you hear those other nations insult you, and you will no longer be mocked by them. You will be a hand that causes its nation to fall, says the sovereign Lord. Then this further message came to me from the Lord. Son of man, when the people of Israel were living in their own land, they defiled it by the evil way they lived. To me, their conduct was as unclean as a woman's menstrual cloth. They polluted the land with murder and the worship of idols. So I poured out my fury on them. I scattered them to many lands to punish them for the evil way they had lived. But when they were scattered among the nations, they brought shame on my holy people. For the nations said, they are the people of the Lord, but he couldn't keep them safe in his own land. But I was concerned for my holy name, on which my people brought shame among the nations. Therefore give the people of Israel this message from the sovereign Lord. I am bringing you back, but not because you deserve it. I am doing it to protect your holy name, on which you brought shame while you were scattered among the nations. I will show how holy my great name is, the name on which you brought shame upon the nations, among the nations, and when I reveal my holiness through you before their very eyes, says the sovereign Lord, then the nations will know that I am the Lord, for I will gather you up from all the nations and bring you home again to your land. Then I will sprinkle clean water on you, and you will be clean. Your filth will be washed away, and you will no longer worship idols. And I will give you a new heart, and I will put a new spirit in you. I will take out your stony, stubborn heart and give you a tender, responsive heart. And I will put my spirit in you so that you will follow my decrees and be careful to obey my regulations. And you will live in Israel, the land I gave your ancestors long ago. You will be my people, and I will be your God. I will cleanse you of your filthy behavior. I will give you good crops of grain in you. I will send no more famines on the land. I will give you great harvest from your fruit trees and fields, and never again will the surrounding nations be able to scoff at your land for its famines. Then you will remember your past sins and despise yourself for all the detestable things you did. But remember, says the sovereign Lord, I am not doing this because you deserve it. O my people of Israel, you should be utterly ashamed of all you have done. This is what the sovereign Lord says. When I cleanse you from your sins, I will repopulate your cities, and the ruins will be rebuilt. The fields that used to lie empty and desolate in plain view of everyone will again be farmed. And when I bring you back, people will say, this former wasteland is now like the Garden of Eden. The abandoned and ruined cities now have strong walls and filled with people. Then the surrounding nations that survive will know that I, the Lord, have rebuilt the ruins and replanted the wasteland. For I, the Lord, have spoken, and I will do what I say. This is what the sovereign Lord says. I am ready to hear Israel's prayers and to increase their numbers like a flock. They will be as numerous as the sacred flock that filled Jerusalem's streets at the time of her festivals. The ruined cities will be crowded with people once more, and everyone will know that I am the Lord. And so that's the end for today. Something that just really stood out to me about what I read is that when you turn your heart towards God, when you submit your heart towards God, you know that God softens that heart of yours, softens our hearts, so that we will be more responsive to His will, so that we are more obedient and be able to love Him more often, love Him easier. That's what happens when you turn your life around towards God, is that God will work with your hearts. He will transform your hearts into a more of a godly heart than what you had before you accepted Christ into your life. And so I kind of want you to think about, is there like a time in your life where you may have lived this lifestyle, or if you have really believed in these ways, and then God, because you submit yourself to God, God kind of changed the way you lived, changed the way you think about people, changed the ways you talk to people, think about the ways you see life, believe about life, because God can change people's hearts if they just only be submissive to Him, and God will bless you because you are submissive to Him. And through that blessing, part of that blessing comes with turning a heart of stone into a softened heart towards Him. And so that's just something that really stood out to me. And then I kind of want to move a little bit more backwards into Ezekiel chapter 34. It's a message to the people of Israel about how they have not faithfully guided the people of Israel towards God. And I think that's an important message for modern Christians. It's really easy for us in the how, because the leaders of Israel did not teach the people how to follow God better. The people became more rebellious because they were not taught by the leaders of the words of God. And so kind of turning that towards ourselves. Many Christians, they're really comfortable with hanging out with other Christians, talking to other Christians, sharing their faith with each other. And that's great. I really do love when fellow Christians come together to share about their testimony, to share their faith with people. But in doing so, in always hanging out with Christians, with people who believe in God, we leave the people who do not believe in God. We leave the people who rejected God. We left out the people who has church hurts, who despise God because of our actions. When we leave these people, that's where God gets angry. God gets angry when the religious people, when the leaders of the nation gets wealth, really rich, while the other people in their nation gets poor. And so that's just like a perfect example of how Christians are living these days. Is that we're so comfortable with living with each other, of speaking to each other, of making friends with each other, that when we are friends with the non-believer friends, we will never share the gospel with them because we are afraid that they will think differently of us. They probably will, or they think they're weird, or they think that we are weird, or whatever fears that you may have when it comes to sharing the gospel with people. It does not please God to know that. When we know the keys to truth, we decide not to share them with our non-believer friends because we are afraid of what they may think of us. And so, how do we go beyond that? How do we say, okay, my non-believer friend, you may think me as weird, you may not think highly of me after sharing this with you, but because I love you, because I care about you, I'm going to share the gospel with you. And the thing about the gospel, the word itself means good news. And sometimes that good news, you have to follow up. You have to start off with bad news. Have to help all of us understand, helping the non-believer friends to understand what is at stake. Why all of us who do not believe in God are in trouble. And in doing that, in sharing the bad news first, then the gospel would be like honey to the sore throat. Like it would be like that thorn taken out of our sides. That bad news is like representation of a thorn, and the good news is like the action of the thorn being taken out of our sides. And so that gospel can transform people's hearts. You don't have to be the one that is the smartest. You don't have to debate. You don't have to have the best use of language. You may not be able to persuade people, but nobody could deny your own personal testimonies, and that is powerful. And so just because you can't debate with people, just because you cannot be persuasive, that does not mean that you shouldn't share your testimony, because nobody can say that, oh, your testimony is wrong. God can work through testimonies. God can work through his servants who share their faith, who shares their personal stories of interactions with God. God can work through our testimonies to get to other people. And so don't feel like you have to be qualified. If you have experienced God in certain ways, on a genuine level, you obviously want to share that with your non-believer friends, because you know how amazing that feeling is. And so kind of the last thing I want to talk about is that when the people of Edom rejoice in the sufferings of Israel, in the ways that they are falling apart, they are being punished for them. Sometimes it's easy for people just to make fun of us, or we making fun of them, and feel like, we may give some criticism and that's it. But sometimes it could go beyond that. Sometimes we are being punished because of our stubbornness, because of our ignorance. And so learning that when our enemies suffer, how do we show hearts of compassion? How do we spread love and peace to people who are hurting, to our enemies who are hurting, and not mocking them, because whenever we mock people, there's always a chance that God will punish us because of making a mockery, because of us mocking our enemies. And so I hope what I shared was helpful. That it just don't get comfortable with the Christian life. Go out and share the gospel with people. So may you guys go and walk with God and realize that there are lost sheep that God's wanting to rescue, and are you willing to be the shepherd that he could use to pull these sheep back into his own house? So may you guys go and walk with God today.